Welcome everyone back to the weekly source, your source for the latest in benefits and HR. Before we get started, you'll notice there's three folks today, and I was thinking about it, and watching the Michael Jordan documentary that's been going out, and last week was all about the advent of the triangle offense, and essentially shifting on the court, and really how it was a revolutionary piece to the game. And geographically, we've got our triangle. So myself in Charleston, Bradley Taylor in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Chaz Fields down in Texas. But I think we do need to take some roles. So naturally, I'll play Rodman. The bad boy of benefits and HR is what I'm going to be called, at least for the next week. But I will kick it up to Bradley, my co-host today, our EVP of partnerships here at PlanSource, to decide whether he's Pippen or Jordan.
Yeah, I don't think I can claim that. I don't have skills for either. And I do enjoy a good pair of Air Jordan shoes, but not the skills. So what about you, Chaz? Who would you think?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about this before, y'all, and I don't know how anyone could say that they're Michael Jordan, right? So I'll just take Pippen by default.
Chaz, appreciate you hopping on, and Bradley, appreciate you joining us today too. Chaz, just you being the new face in the virtual room here, give us a quick intro on yourself and how you got specifically in the industry.
Yeah, so I'm Chaz Fields. I'm a partner here at the Kronos HCM Advisory Group. It's a really fancy title. I'm a HCM strategy consultant. So my time is really divided up into two ways. The first way is consulting with businesses, helping them leverage technology, work on their processes, best practices, making sure that if there's a gap in how they're doing things, we make their place a better place to work and more efficient and productive. That's how I spend half my time, which is a lot on a plane. And then the other half of the time, I do a lot of writing and researching and public speaking. So our team speaks a lot at SHRM, APA, a lot of different conferences like that, where you can get, professional development credits. And then we also spend a lot of time writing for HCM syndicates. I personally have been published in Forbes. We've been published in Wall Street Journal, along with HR.com and HR Outlook. So that's how my team's divided up.
Awesome. Do you, just given the changes that we've dealt with in your typical time on the road, traveling, planes, in-person panels, keynotes, how's that adaptation, I should say, been for you? And how do you see, do you see differences today that'll be permanent in terms of how you've been doing your job? You just recently spoke on a SHRM panel that was virtual. So do you envision the conference scene to sort of kick back up, Chaz, or how do you think your position will be impacted there?
Yeah, so there's two sides of that, right? Right now, it's very web-based, right? I think the world is still trying to figure out how do we manage post-COVID, right? It's going to be some difficulties, I think, for employers to just, hey, you're good to go ahead and get back on a plane and start traveling. I do think it will shift, but I don't think it's going to ramp up as fast as we really, really hope.
Do you think employers or the conference scene will remain virtual just because so many more people can participate?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be virtual for a while because of the fact that you've got so many people coming into one space, right? We know how the virus spreads, or, from what we've read, but getting people who come from all over different areas, all over different counties within that state or whatever conference you go to, I don't see that happening. I think the conference chairs and committees are going to play it safe. The webinar thing is actually really great, right? Because you still get to choose what you want to go and do. You still get to go and hear what you want to hear. And to be honest, you get to do it from the comfort of wherever you are. right? Now,
Mhm.
a lot of companies look forward to going to those conferences. Me, myself, I love going out to Vegas. I love going to the SHRM National Conference. I love going and talking and being social with my peers. But at the end of the day, those conferences are designed to help you develop professionally.
That's a great point, Chaz. And Bradley touched on it. You've taken some of the in-person meetings to virtual. You just spoke on a SHRM webinar last week. And again, a lot of our audience being HR professionals, benefits brokers. Talk a bit about your message in that webinar about managing and accepting change. If this is the new normal, what next? Some of the big takeaways from that webinar.
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you mentioning that. It's still on the SHRM website if you want to go hear it. One of the key things that we talk about is the change management element. Now, anytime we all understand that change is inevitable, it's going to continue to happen. But this has been a really big change in our society, right? Really worldwide. We've never dealt with this, at least, the majority of us have never dealt with something like this. And the component of accepting change when you have no control is really hard, right? We deal with it day in and day out in our personal lives, and oftentimes we don't have a lot of control over it in our professional lives. So how do we accept change in those moments? And we walk through things that you can do to maintain your mental health, things like journaling, having discussions. Just because we're remote doesn't mean that you can't have a personal connection with your team. Look at what we're doing here now. I had the privilege of meeting Brad in person before, and it's like we've just picked up where we left off and we're doing it virtually now. Neil, I met you virtually a week ago, and I feel like you and I could go sit down and have a drink together and be just fine, So the important component is making sure that you check in on your individuals. You provide them with resources to help them get throughout their day. And I think the biggest component is being trustworthy and showing empathy and showing that you as a manager can be vulnerable with your employees. And it gives you the opportunity to be real and show that you're a real person. And ultimately that's what employees want. That's what HR leaders want to see. And that's what drives, a culture and helps create a better place to work.
That's great.
Cool. With just the changing times, if you will, from the Kronos perspective around the partners, PlanSource is a partner with Kronos. We provide assistance and support with benefits administration, but are you seeing the different client expectations today around integrated partnerships, and how has that sort of change accelerated given the crisis we're in right now?
Right, Brad, that's a great question. To answer your first question, the integration piece, no, that is going to continue as long as I'm alive. I think it's very, very important for a partnership like Kronos and PlanSource to exist, because your niche and what we do is different from what you do, and that continues to excel both businesses going forward. It's important for HR and benefit leaders to have access to data and make sure that our relationship continues to grow, so those people don't have to necessarily worry about what's going on. They let the system take care of it, and they can focus on being strategic and day in and day out. Now, for us, what's cool about it is our relationship continues to deepen, right? I think we have a large number of clients and customers that use our product mutually, and it's Kronos Benefits Center, in other words, PlanSource, right? As our relationship and customer size continues to grow and we deliver on that integration piece, we allow those HR leaders and benefit leaders to focus on those things that are more strategic. And the foundation of that is through API and integration. So it's going to continue to deepen, right? And integration, as we continue going down the path, I look at it from our phones, right? We have so many different applications that talk to one another, and that's really important because it makes my life easier. It's no different with PlanSource and Kronos. It makes those leaders' lives easier.
Well, hey, Chaz, running up on time here, and definitely appreciate you stopping by and joining us, and Bradley, you as well. I think some really good takeaways there. Again, it's all shifting. moving closer to technology, companies playing better together. So it's a good message for the listeners. But hey, guys, thanks so much for popping by the source. And for the rest of you, we'll see you next week.